When I'm down in the dumps, nothing gets my toes a tapping like putting on my old MC Hammer pants. That's a quote from one of my favorite actors, Ryan Gosling, and man, what a wise sage that beautiful man is. And recently, he's been on my mind lately more than usual, because I've been seeing all of his promotion for his recent film, The Fall Guy, and I thought to myself, through this entire media press run, what is the greatest Ryan Gosling movie? So I hid myself away like a monster, and in that time I've been watching and rewatching his greatest films and seeing for myself what is the greatest Gosling flick. And I'm here to show you this mental degrading spiral I've been on for the last week. So lock in, boys and girls, because we're about to dive head deep into the filmography of Ryan Gosling. You can leave now if this is too hefty of an endeavor, no one will judge you. You can head back to your peaceful life of watching boyfriend crashing ASMRs. I know I certainly will when I'm done finishing this video. But for you brave souls that stick around and have the question as well haunting you like I do, let's dive in together and find out what is the greatest Ryan Gosling movie. First off, the criteria. How are we going to narrow down this Canadian's filmography? And it is simple. We're going to look at the 11 most iconic Ryan Gosling movies, one movie for each letter in his name. And then we're going to have 3 categories, all rated on a scale of 1 to 5 on this graph here. The 3 categories are showing how much Gosling there is in the movie, how iconic Gosling is in the movie, and the 3rd category, how good is the movie. Now that we have our rules put into place, we will scientifically be able to prove what is the greatest Gosling movie. Do not debate this video, it is science, and now let's dive in head first with Blue Valentine. This is a story of a romance falling apart due to Ryan Gosling being a horrible, abusive alcoholic. Now, Blue Valentine came out in 2010 and is Ryan Gosling's first film with director Derek Cianfrance, and this is the first of a 2-film collaboration that they would do, and off the bat, this is a great movie. Performance-wise, I'm going to give this a 4 since Ryan Gosling does completely change himself here, especially with his older self in the story being almost completely unrecognizable, and this is a sneakily great Gosling performance, and I'd give the film overall a 4. But for the amount of screen time he gets, I'd only give it a 3, because yeah, this is a romance movie and it's split pretty evenly down the middle. So I don't think this is the greatest Gosling movie, but it's a great film that's hard to watch at times, but one that does stick with you. Not the best Gosling film, but you should check this out if it sounds interesting. Next up, Drive, and yeah, let's get this over with. This is probably the perfect Gosling vehicle. A film that follows his character completely throughout the runtime, Gosling giving one of his most iconic performances in this classic, silent but haunted character, and the film is incredible and engaging from start to finish, and it's a movie that I can watch any day of the week, and it's an absolute banger. And this is right at the top for me for the best Gosling movie ever. I'm not gonna waste your time because you've seen this movie, and if you haven't seen this movie, stop watching this video and go watch it right now. For all 3 categories, 5s across the board, baby. Next up, The Place Beyond the Pines. Now this is the 2nd collaboration with Ryan Gosling and director Derek Cianfrance, and once again, it's an absolutely great and ambitious movie. That said though, I do have to issue a spoiler warning for this movie specifically because it will matter with the ratings. First off, for the amount of Gosling time we're gonna get in this, I'm gonna give it a 2, because once again, spoilers, he's killed off a little before the halfway mark of the film. Gosling's performance though, I'm gonna give it a 3, because he's doing nothing crazy here, but he is good in this movie, and the film overall as well, I'm gonna give a 4. It's a great movie, even if this is one where it's nowhere close to being a classic Gosling film. The direction of this film is clear that Gosling's character Luke is a small piece in a large puzzle, and that's okay. That's usually what actors are supposed to be in a film. And yeah, it's completely different from Drive previously, which focuses completely on Gosling, but that's not a bad thing. This is definitely not the greatest Gosling film, but just like Blue Valentine, it's a great movie with Ryan Gosling. The next one though is there's a lot of Gosling. Only God Forgives. This one's gonna be quick because just like Place Beyond the Pines, this is Gosling teaming up with the director right after working with them before. This time it's Nicholas Winding Refn, who he worked with on Drive. Here though, this neon lit crime drama doesn't work nearly as well as Drive does. Just like Drive, the entire film revolves around Gosling, so throw the 5 into the 1st category, even though this story feels a lot more repetitive due to that. Performance wise though, this movie is extremely generic honestly, for Gosling. Gosling's doing good enough here, but he feels a little aimless and much too similar to some of his previous work, and he is completely forgettable as his character in this movie, so I'll give him a 2 out of 5 for his character. And thirdly, the film overall, it's decent. It feels thematically confused at times, but there are some incredible lighting and cinematography on display here, and it's totally unique as well. So 3 out of 5, you can probably just skip this one and watch Drive. It's way better. Oh, I forgot to add this, so I'm gonna add it right here. I also saw The Notebook, and is it like bad to say because I'm just a normal dude, but I thought this was like really cute. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'll give it like 3s across the board. This is really good Ryan Gosling. Y'all are tripping. This is great. But now we're entering the golden Gosling zone. 2015 and onwards is where we start getting Gosling classics left and right, but The Big Short is not really one of them. This is an ensemble finance film where Ryan Gosling is is not the main character, but instead a small character in a large, sprawling, great value Wolf of Wall Street. I mean literally, the definition of a knockoff Wolf of Wall Street. They even dragged poor Margot Robbie into this, and overall, Gosling's screen time is limited, and I'll give him a 2 for that. Performance-wise though as well, he doesn't really pop in this film. He monologues straight to the audience throughout the film, which is really fun as this narrator, but I can only remember this line from the movie.
I'm jacked. I'm jacked to the tits!
Okay, so that line's absolutely amazing. I'm gonna bump up his entire character here to a 3. And that's the same score I'd give the overall movie, since it's a decent little Wall Street movie trying to make the 2008 stock market crash into an engaging Moneyball Wolf of Wall Street hybrid. It's interesting to see Ryan Gosling kind of play more of an antagonistic role here as our annoyed narrator, but overall this is nowhere close to the greatest Gosling movie. If you're doing a Gosling marathon, you could probably skip this one. There just isn't enough Gosling here for this to be a certified Gosling classic. Now here we go, this movie is a Gosling classic. When you want one of the funniest and best performances of Gosling's career, you go with The Nice Guys. Ryan Gosling at the top of his game, teaming up with Shane Black, who had already showed the world how hilarious Robert Downey Jr. could be in his previous buddy cop movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and now Shane Black gives the treatment to Ryan Gosling as the main goofy detective, and it is delightful. And the best part of this movie is there's so much time spent with Gosling, even though it's a buddy cop movie. So I'll give the Gosling amount of 4 in this category, since for the majority of the runtime, he is the main character. And for the performance of Ryan Gosling in this movie, this is an easy 5. This is one of the best characters that he has ever played, just due to how much texture and nuance the character has in every scene.
Dad, there's like whores here and stuff.
Sweetheart, how many times have I told you, don't say and stuff. Just say, Dad, there are whores here.
But yes, this movie is great, and I love this movie so much, and I'm one of those guys on Twitter begging for there to be a sequel. I'll give the movie a 4. The Nice Guys, with no hyperbole, might be the greatest Gosling movie. Throw it next to Drive as a contender for the greatest Gosling film, because it is that good, and everyone should watch it. Alright, grab the tissues for this one, because La La Land is one of my favorite movies ever, and I think it is one of the greatest romance films ever made. But how big of an impact does Ryan Gosling have in La La Land? And I think he has a pretty significant role, even though this is clearly Emma Stone's film first and foremost. This is her film and she's running with it, so for Ryan's screen time in La La Land, I'm gonna give it a 3. But performance-wise though, I give him a 4. This is the movie where he really gets to show how versatile of an actor he is, with his comedy and his dance and his dramatic chops all coming together. And I think this is a great performance for him, even if I know barely anyone can remember his name. I mean, I know his name in this movie, I love Sebastian, but I don't think that's fair because I randomly know a lot of characters' names. Like, I know this guy's name in Rogue One is Blaise Malbus. Don't ask me why I know that, but this film as well is a masterpiece, and the overall score for the movie I'd give a 5 too. And then we have Blade Runner 2049, which I have a confession to make about, because I made this entire video just so I could talk more about Blade Runner 2049. I think I got a problem, but that's because this is my favorite movie ever, and Ryan Gosling's in it, and he's a huge reason of why I love this movie so much. And I'd give both his screen time and his character overall both 4s. You're probably wondering, if this is my favorite movie, why didn't I give his character a 5? And that's because I just don't think it's an iconic role for a lot of people. I love it because it's an incredible and nuanced performance of an android trying to figure out his humanity and wondering if he's capable of considering himself alive. But it's also a very subtle and quiet performance, and I know a lot of people don't really care for it except when he throws his massive tantrum, which I love. But when I'm thinking of Ryan Gosling iconic performances, Kay is not one of the first characters I think of. Even though his drip is immaculate, I want that coat so bad. And this movie, just like Ryan Gosling's coat in this movie, is an absolute 5 out of 5. Okay, we got our final 2 movies. We're in the end game now, and speaking of which, it's the same director who directed this movie, The Gray Man. Do any of you remember this movie? It's okay if you don't, because I don't think Netflix realized they made this movie in 2021. This movie is awful, and it's shocking due to how big of a release it is. It's a huge action movie from the 2 directors of, at the time, the biggest movie ever with Avengers Endgame. And the whole concept of this movie was them returning to a Winter Soldier type action movie with Ryan Gosling. What could go wrong? A lot. This is the most generic and toothless film ever. Unfortunately, this movie's actually really long, so the amount of time we get to spend with Gosling though, we'll give it a 4 on the board, because we do see a lot of him in this movie, even though his character 6 is awful and I don't remember anything about him, so let's give his character a 2. And lastly, we'll give the film as well a 2, because I'm feeling generous today. It's not the worst thing ever made, it's just extremely forgettable and a complete waste of your time. Don't watch this movie if you're ever thinking of doing a Ryan Gosling binge, just completely forget it, because Netflix didn't remember they made it either. And finally, for our last movie in this entire marathon, I got the best for last. Let's look at Barbie. Looking back at this movie almost a year later, this is the Ken show, whether we like it or not. Ryan Gosling as Ken is kind of a revelation in this movie, and he had the internet in a chokehold for a while here. And it makes sense because his screen time here is a 3, as he's basically a co-lead in the movie, but his performance as Ken is the easiest 5 I've given out in this entire video. This is the definition of an iconic performance because you don't even really think about it being Ryan Gosling in this, which is so rare in all of his movies. He transforms pretty well into that pathetic little Barbie doll, and well, you just see Ken. And that is amazing. It also helps that this movie is absolutely great. I give it a 4 out of 5. And this movie is just such a fun summer blockbuster, but the reason that this is as great as it is, I think, is because of Ken. He really is the secret sauce that makes makes this movie as incredible as it is. Alright, we've made it to the end of the video though. We've looked at the 11 most iconic Ryan Gosling movies, and now we're going to narrow it down to the 3 best Ryan Gosling movies to see what is the Goslingest, most Gosling movie. So our final 3 contenders are Drive, The Nice Guys, I'm going to put Barbie in, just barely over Blade Runner 2049. So, which one out of these 3 final movies is the greatest Gosling movie? And when I put them all in their own little vacuum, I think they're all incredible, and Gosling in all of these movies is making them each individually better. But just like with any GOAT debate, whether it's Jordan or LeBron, Brady or Mahomes, Kendrick versus no one, it really comes down to what does your gut say deep down? And that's what leads me to what I think is the greatest Gosling film. Because when I hear Ryan Gosling's name brought up, I only think of 2 words.
I drive.